Good afternoon. I am Engineer Wimalasena Gamage, former past president of IESL session 2015 and 16, as well as former director of irrigation in the head office, and now retired. I am product of the Peradeniya University engineer faculty, and presently I am working as a freelance consultant engineer for the construction sector, as well as a registered arbitrator and adjudicator. Especially for your B paper, I am going to share with some my experience and thought and knowledge about the environment. So, environment management, it broadly defined in everywhere, most of the textbooks and the acts and ordinance. Now, it consists of all the external, non-living, abiotic, and living biotic factors, conditions, and influence that affect the life, development, and survival of an organism or community. Then, in our government is already take the action about the National Environment Act. Its section 33 define the environment as the physical factors of the surrounding of human being, including the land, soil, water, atmosphere, climate, odors, taste, and biological factors of animals and plants of every description. So now I will come to the description of interdependence, environmental change, and resilience. Environment is complex system of living and non-living components which interact with each other and respond to change in order of to survival. So the environment is dynamic and constantly changing. So very important. Environment is, as you know, dynamic and constantly changing. Change occurs as a result of natural process as well as through human intervention and action. So that is the most important. Then environment change as a result of the natural and human made causes can occur over a short period. Short period volcanoes and longer period for a short period volcanoes, longer period climate change. That is the one I want to uh, explain to you. So the environment it could also refer to the geological region, a certain climate conditions, pollutant or the noise which surround the organism. This can be narrowed down to describe specific areas such as the aquatic environment, for example, consists of rivers, lakes, and oceans, and the terrestrial environment is made up to the land surface. So, the term built environment has been applied in various places in areas such as cities created by human activity. All components of the environment are intimately linked and the combination constitute the earth and atmosphere system. They vary in scale from atmospheric to global and may be subdivided according to the attributes. So, environment changes as a result of natural and human-made cause can occur over a short period. That's the main point. With that, it is necessary to make the management. So, short period, something like volcanoes, as well as over a longer period, as the case of climate change, long-term process can be as damaging. or in some cases even more damaging than those that occur over a short period of time. In the case of human-introduced environmental changes, which often occurs in the long term, there is a time lapse between the cause and the effect, which hides the contribution of the humankind or this process or adverse change. For example, it was only decades after CPC, chloro, as in most of you are aware about CFCs, chlorofluorinated carbons, were product and the use that is impact on the ozone layer was discovered. So that is the long-term effect. Then we will come to the definition of resilience. The resilience allows the earth to withstand change, and in many cases restoration occurs naturally over a period of time. In cases where the damages is too much to naturally restore, the environment evolves a change into different environmental. Even evaluation has meant that different plant and animal species survive and have adapted over a period of time to live in various climatic conditions, including extreme environments such as ice and desert. So, deserts. The resilience in evaluation has meant that different plant and animal species survive and adapt over a period of time to live in the various climatic conditions. I think you understand that. Then including extreme environments such as ice and deserts. However, rapid and unnatural changes often means that many environmental and the animal and plant species that live within them are unable to cope with the change and lost as a result. So we will discuss and we will find out that importance of the conserving the environment. Why we should conserve the environment. So our environment is a fundamental to our survival. It provides us with various goods and services that support, provide and regulate our well-being. So we rely on the environment for our lives and will continue to do so in the future because we want oxygen, we want food and other necessities. Therefore, we always rely on the environment for our lives. We'll continue to do so in the future also. As a human being in built-up cities and towns, the interconnectivity and functioning of environment is is not is not obvious. When humans create an artificial environment, it is felt that the rest of the environment is something that is separate from us. So that is the most important. When the human create the artificial environment, it is felt that the rest of the environment is something that is separate from us, not the homogeneous. So irrespective of where a person lives, in forest or in a city, we all have the same basic needs such as air, water and food. That is the most important. When human create art, so the difference is that some of these needs are now packaged differently and are sourced from the far away, which make it difficult for us to understand the environmental source. For example, when we drink water, off a bottle or mineral water, it is easy to forget the role played by the water cycle or watershed forest in the providing us in the clean drinking water. We forget that if we excessively mine sand from the river, we might be forced to drink saline water, like the coastal belts, Kalutara area, Kalani river, yeah, contaminated the saline water. If we clear watershed forest, leading to soil erosion. We forget that the reservoir downstream will lose some of its capacity to provide hydroelectrical power as well as irrigation and drinking. We are often unconscious the importance of the and interconnected of our environment. That is the main mistake. Therefore, many carry out activities that pollute and degrade without realizing the in, repercussions. What is the important that we cannot survive healthy with air, any air, water and food. What we really need is clean air, clean water as well as food without contaminants. Our environment provides us for more than one basic requirement. It provides various goods such as food, fuel, building material, and services such as erosion control, sediment retention, climate regulation, uh, waste treatment, water supply, and recreation. In order to provide us with these environmental goods and services, the environment interacts with various living and non-living components through a complex series of relationships and processes. These ecosystem goods and services are usually referred to as ecosystem service. I think you can read little more. What is environment management? Now we are going to discuss about the what is the environment management. So environment management is defined as a system that incorporate process of summarizing, monitoring, reporting, developing and executing the environment policies like project management. The aim encouraging an environmental management system is to ensure the healthy state of our planet for future generation. It also works towards preserving all forms of life. Further, in business, environmental management is defined as a corporate strategy that monitors, develop and implement environmental policies of an organization. For the particular, like a government, they have the environmental policies. Like particular organization also should have their policy. So it is systematic approach that is gaining due prominence as a consumer are looking for products and services that are eco-friendly and eco-aware. So that is the from the company people are correctly. So for example, so when you go for a service station, so we are thinking about that what will happen to the polluted water. So normally they are having a series of filters to filter the water and then release to the reservoir stream or near stream or surrounding area. So that's what people are for the company. So it is for the company. They don't have right to pollute the environment. Therefore, they have policies. The ecological balances of our planet has been disturbed through the technological revolution, heavy industrialization, growth in the transportation, unplanned urbanization, quite clear, and exploitation of the resources. Then ecosystem stability is in danger as the relationship between the human being and the environment has deteriorated. The relationship can once again become harmonious if people start encouraging activities like conservation, regeneration and protection of the nature. So now man develop because of development they destroyed that particular environment. Now they want to keep the environment for the former level. Therefore people are encouraging various activities to conserve the environment, regeneration and protection of our nature. So this is the present situation. Then again the environment management is connected with marine, understand, land and atmosphere conditions and works towards issue like deforestation and global warming. It looks at the carbon footprints and tries to find ways to reduce the irreversible uh, damages people are leaving behind. The environment management is described as again as a process of minimize the waste and maximize the compliance. It is created to address the environmental issues that have a direct and indirect impact on the global and is affecting it adversely. It deals in finding appropriate solution to environmental crises and preventing ecological disasters. Environment management also investigate potential sources for renewable energy so that fossil fuel does not become depleted. So now that's what regarding energy. We are looking for a solar energy and wind energy, and where in the what to call from the sea, various way we are trying to use the in what to call natural things to develop the power instead of go for a uh, fuel fuel basis fossil basis generation. So now just I list out the objectives of the environment management for your convenience. So in the meantime, keep in your mind very easily that identifying the environmental issues, finding solutions for environmental issues, establishing limits to avoid overuse, help to renew natural resources, minimize the use of natural resources, developing monitoring system and research institutions, regeneration of degraded environment, review the environment goals of an organization, setting environmental targets, minimize the environmental impact of an organization. Regarding the organization's concern, these are the main objectives of the environmental management for the company. Even it is relevant not only the company but even the province, even the government, anywhere. This is the mainly objective of the environment. This thing. Then when you continue that same thing, control environment pollution. So pollution is the major thing. Always the pollution is we are always considering pollution. So control environment pollution. So because of the pollution, environment is damaging. Then the ensuring the environmental awareness program is being followed by every employee in the particular company. That pollution we are going to stop in the meantime. So all the employees are ensuring the awareness about the program, the environment management. For then all the employees as stakeholders participate in this project. Review the existing technologies and try to make them eco-friendly. So now in the meantime, sometimes we are at the moment some using some technologies, so we are reviewing that whether it can be improved. So then make maximum utilization of the natural resources. So instead for the it is quite clear. Then access to the impact of potential activities on the environment. Encourage resources conserving programs. Develop strategies for improving quality of life. Implement ways for environmental protection. Minimize the impact of natural disaster. Identify, develop and implement policies related to sustainable development. So sustainable development, I think some other lecturers have covered sustainable development. you also aware about as engineers sustainable development from the universities and other way. So therefore, these are the main objectives. So uh, that is the environment objective of the environment management. You can further reading and improve. And then we are going to just touch environmental degradation and pollution. Environmental degradation refers to the depletion of potentially renewable resources such as air, water, soil, forest, or world wildlife by using it at a faster rate than it can be naturally renewed. That is the thing. So everything we very quickly we can use, but to renew that it will take some time. Environmental destruction has serious as far-reaching consequences, and these impacts on both human and the environment may not be immediately obvious. Many different forces contribute to environment degradation. Even a small or located act of environment degradation impact the natural and built environment, thereby affecting people. Such degradation affects the goods and services we rely on, and this cost is borne by other people, by the government or wider society, and by the future generation. Many different forces contribute to environment degradation. What are that? These include direct destruction by the people and businessmen, while wider institutional, policy, and legal factors also contribute to degradation. In addition, weak enforcement of environmental laws, most important, coupled with the failure of relevant agencies, those who are custodian agencies, to perform their duty. Therefore, the widespread corruption and political patronage shows and encourage misuse of the environment, and the breaking of environmental laws, changing consumption pattern and demand, increasing market integration and globalization, land pressure and population growth all have an impact on environment. Therefore, global and national pressures often encourage development to take place in ways that are unsustainable both in environmental and economic terms. Environmental degradation and pollution continue as such. These include, so for your easy reference, direct destruction by peoples and business as I mentioned earlier, while wider institutional, policy and legal factors as well as such as weak enforcement of environmental law as we experience nowadays, coupled with failure to relevant agencies to perform their duties, all these people and public general public agitate in that, exacerbable degradation, widespread corruption, and political patronage allows, encourage, misuse the environment, breaking the environment law. So, as we experience these days, changing consumption pattern and demand, increasing the market integration and globalization. I think we'll understand. Land pressure and population growth all have an impact on environmental. For settlement, lands are using, then land will be amount of land will be degraded. So those things are very badly affecting the environment. Global and national pressures often encourage the development to take place that are unsustainable both environmental and economic terms. So development strategies has to be considered with the environment. So in this regard, regarding the management of the environment, there are few things are already introduced by the laws as well as the general public. The public trust doctrine. So it is most important. These are two conception of public trust doctrine. According to the narrow concept, the government deemed to be the trustee of the country natural resources and its surrounding environment. And such resources must be held by used by the government for the benefit of the people. So, government is the most important institution to protect the environment. So, the public trust doctrine entrusted the government to look after the environment. So, protect the environment. So, that is the for a long time it was in the field of environment that public trust doctrine in environment law we always discuss. So, according to the narrow concept, government deemed to be the trustee of the country's natural resources and its surrounding environment, and such resources must be held or used by the government for the benefit of the people. So, even though this government is the custodian for the resources, so then it has to be protect for the use of development of the people, as well as must keep the protect it for the future generation. So then it is a short term. In the wider environmental sense, the concept of public trust expresses the ideas that the present generation hold the natural resources in trust for the future generation. So we are the අපි තමයි බාරකරුවෝ වර්තමානයේදී natural resources වල to protect it for the future generation also. අපිට ඕන ප්‍රමාණය පාවිච්චි කරලා වැඩිපුර පාවිච්චි නොකර අනාගත පරපුර වෙනුවෙන් වෙන් කර දීම තමයි wider environmental sense. It is the concept of public trust. So this public trust is very important. So in all the countries it is using normally it is in the environmental law, it is their public trust. So I think as engineers we must keep in the mind that it is public trustee. Then environment challenges. The state of the environment challenges in Sri Lanka are the air pollution, water and water resource pollution. I think air pollution very clearly understand all of you, and water resource pollution. So here always in the general public agitating for the water. So that is most important. Water prevent the water pollution and water resources pollution also, rivers as well as reservoirs. Then the soil pollution and noise pollution, mineral extraction, land degradation and energy. I think you understand that is that soil pollution. Once the soil is polluted, we contaminate in the hazardous matters, so it cannot be used for development of the human being. Then the waste, solid waste, toxic and hazardous waste, e-waste, disaster, biodiversity and the protected area. So these are the final effects because of the environment pollution. Marine and coastal environmental. So I think in recent incidents in our sea, this is very descriptive, marine and coastal environment. So therefore everywhere this coastal environment as marine as well as other water, everything is the environment challenges. So those challenges has to be managed for the certain extent for the our future. Then environment laws, it is described polluter pay principle. So I think very understand polluter pay principle. So pollution control cost have been borne by the public rather than those who polluted. So normally when the pollution is occurred, it is public funds are using using for clear the polluted material. So therefore, earlier it was the polluter pay principle, according to that historically pollution control cost has been borne by the people rather than those who pollute. This can be demonstrated by way of a simple illustration. I think we are very familiar day-to-day life with that. In industry, discharge pollutant into river. These are at least those possible ways in which the public may bear the economic cost of such pollution. The river can remain polluted and unsuitable for certain downstream activities, as well as causing those downstream that utilize the river to suffer economic losses. That is the final result. Those who utilize the water in the river downstream can build a suitable water treatment and purification plant at their own cost. One example. The polluter may receive subsidies from the government for controlling the pollution he or she causes. That is, the polluter may receive subsidies from the government for controlling a pollution to be caused. So, in the each of the foregoing situation, the affected members of the public bear the cost of the pollution and the necessary measures to be eliminate or mitigate its effects. The polluter pays principle, on the other hand, established that the cost of the pollution should be borne by the person responsible for causing the pollution, and therefore the polluter pay principle seek to avoid these results as well as the injustice caused by it. By obliging the polluter to bear the cost of pollution control, internationalize such costs. The polluter pay principle is therefore a method of internationalizing the extreme least. So that is the most important. The international instrument is the first express referred to the polluter pays principle was 1972 Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development Council recommendation on the guiding principle concerning the international economic aspects of environmental pollution. The principle of preventive action, also important, impose the obligation to state to prevent damages to the environment and the reduced limit of control activities which may cause risk of damage to the environment. A state may implement this obligation through the regulatory, administrative and other such measures. The preventive principle is best supported by the domestic environment protection legislation, which should be established authorities, procedure and process for implementation this principle. Such legislation should ideally integrate internationally environmental standards, provide access to the environmental information to the public, and ensure environmental impact assessment with necessary. Prevention is also linked to the notion of the deterrence and the idea that incentives such as penalties and civil liability will cause persons to take greater care in the behavior, avoid the pollutant activities. In addition, notion of pollution prevention include the concept of pollution may be prevented or reduced its source by changing the material, production technique and technology. For example, a person engaged in the clean development of mechanism project in Sri Lanka may apply for an secure carbon credits or certified emission reduction under the clean development mechanism. introduced by the United Nations Framework Convention for Climate Change as contained in the defined in the Kyoto Protocol. So that's something. So in which case the Sri Lankan government has introduced important laws and ordinances in Sri Lanka and institutions. So few important laws and institutions in Sri Lanka list out very few. National Environment Act number 47, 1980 and 58, implemented by Central Environment Authority. Fauna and Flora Protection Ordinance, uh, implemented by the Department of Wildlife. Forest Ordinance, number 16, 1907, very old ordinance. It was implementing by the Forest Department. Mahawali Authority Act, which is responsible to Mahawali Authority to implement it. State Land Ordinance, a Land Commissioner and is the Secretary. Mines and Mineral Act number 33, and then Mineral Corporation and Irrigation Ordinance by Irrigation Department. Coast Conservation Act, Coast Conservation Department, and Marine Pollution Prevention Act 35 2008, Coastal Conservation Department. Very recently it was implemented. During the our discussion about the environmental management, I think we have to discuss about the sustainable development. So it is a well recognized principle about the sustainable development. What is the sustainable development? I think most of you are much aware about sustainable development because in other lectures also maybe discuss these things. So as a definition for sustainable development, it defines sustainable development as the development that meets the need of present without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs. I think you have to keep in mind when you write your answers what is this sustainable development. So this definition is very important, and wording also you have to keep with that in your mind. So to write the what is the sustainable development. So sustainable development has emerged as a new paradigm of development, integrating economic growth, social development, and environmental protection, as well as independent and mutually supportive element of long-term development. So that is the importance of the development. When you discuss the what to call this environmental sustainability, right? So the management that sustainable development plays the major role. So that's what it is very important. So at the mainly actually we only have to consume the whatever we need, not the excessive amount, because it is our duty. It is our duty to keep our resources for future generation also. The most widely used definition of sustainable development is one coined by the World Commission of Environment and Development. It defines sustainable development as development, as I mentioned earlier, that meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. So we have to use our resources for as what we want for them at the moment and keep the balance for the future generation. Sustainable development has emerged as a new paradigm of development, in integrating economic growth, social development, and environmental protection as interdependent and mutually supportive elements of long-term development. So, actually, it emphasized the particularly it emphasized the participatory multi-stakeholder approach to development, policy making, development, and implementation, mobilizing public and private resources for development and making use of the knowledge, skills, and energy of all social groups concerned with the future of the planet and its people. So sustainability is very much about what kind of legacy we want to leave for our children and grandchildren. So that is the basic idea. The ideas of sustainability emerged in the 1970s with the UN Stockholm Conference on the Human Environment being the first major international meeting that considered how human activities were harming the environmental and were putting humankind at risk. So that's in 1967, as I mentioned the history, 87, the UN sponsored Brundtland Commission released Our Common Future, a report that captured widespread concern about the environment and poverty. So it points out that while economic development cannot stop, it must be changed course of to fit within the planet and ecological limits. So we can't stop the development, but we have to make it to fit to the environmental protection also. The principle of sustainable development contains two concepts. One is the concept of needs, to particular the essential needs for the world poor to which overriding priority should be given. And second, the idea of the limitation of imposed by technology and the social organizations on the environmental ability to meet present and future needs. In 1972, the Conference of Environment and Development in the Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, brought together the heads of the state officials of 1969 government. In Rio, it was agreed that the protection of the environmental and social and economic development are fundamental to sustainable development. The Rio Conference was a significant milestone that set a new agenda for sustainable development. Further, in 2002, a follow-up conference was held in Johannesburg, South Africa, to reaffirm commitment to the Rio Principle. The full implementation of Agenda 21, which was the environment agenda for 20th century, and the program for the further implementation in Agenda 21. The summit resulted in the development of Johannesburg Plan and implementation, which focused on various topics, including poverty, eradication, changing unsustainable patterns of consumption and production, protecting and managing the natural resources based on economic and social development, and the link between human health and sustainable development. Therefore, the environmental and development must be viewed as being on the some side of the coin, rather than being in the two sides of the coin. New technologies and innovations have already shown that development can occur with minimum impact on environment. Most important, renewable energy, green production and green building are just a few concepts which illustrate in this. So we will try to define the environment management. Is a diverse set of activities. We understand what diverse set of activities. Environment management is not easy to define. As Burrow has acknowledged, it can refer to a goal or vision to attempt to steer a process, to the application of set of tools, to a philosophical exercise seeking to establish new perspective towards the environmental and human societies, and to much more besides. So this is the, according to Burrow, the author, it is mentioned those things. Environment managers are diverse group. So environment managers. So environment, for the environment management, there should be a managers. So managers are diverse group of people, including academics, right? Academics, then the policymakers and non-government organizations, NGO, most popular nowadays in the various countries, workers, company employees, civil servants, and wide range of individuals or groups, may be vulnerable, may be supportive groups, who make decisions about the use of natural resources such as fishers, farmers, and pastoralists. Indeed, environment management involves all people to some extent because all human activities ultimately have some sort of environmental management is not easy to define. So, what is we have to understand? The environment management is not the duty of the single person or group of people. It is the whole responsibility of the, in general, public as well as the academics and other those who are responsible for that, and intellectuals. We all are stakeholders of the environment management. Then civil servants and wide range of individuals or groups who make decisions about the use of natural resources such as fishers, farms, and pastoralists. Indeed, environment management involves all people to some extent because all human activities ultimately have some sort of environmental impact. So that is the thing. So civil servants who are highly educated as well as employed by the government for the various purpose. So they have uh, more responsibility because they are the implementation of the whatever act and other ordinance in the field. So they have the very good responsibility in the respect of the environment management because always environment impact is very effective to the all human activities ultimately have some sort of impact that destroy our future generations prospects. So further, what are the environment desirable outcomes? What are the physical, economical, social, cultural, political and technological constraints to achieving those outcomes? So this is the most day-to-day work. Day-to-day we are realizing that desirable outcomes are physical, economics, social, cultural, political and technological constraints. Always constraints are there to achieving those outcomes. What are the most feasible options for achieving those outcomes? Indeed, in many parts of the world and arguably worldwide, environment management is intimately linked with the pressing issues of justice and even of survival. A further definition might suggest that environment management is concerned with meeting and improving provisions for human needs and demands on sustainable basis with minimal damage to natural habitat and ecosystem. Thus, the concept of environment management is closely related to another important and problematic concept, that is sustainable development. So environment management is always linked with the concept of sustainable development. So both are going parallel. So that is the most important. Then, however, some individuals are more directly involved with the resources use, and some special interest groups are particularly concerned with the resources exploitation and with issues related to pollution. So, sand mining, one of the example. So, this is a resource exploitation and with issue related to pollution. So, sand mine is basically our day-to-day life. So, sand mine is extensively taken place in the various places with the various support of political elements and other things. Then it is highly affected the pollution of the rivers as well as reservoirs. Then finally, the water scarcity and other polluted water problems will be top up. So management therefore involves in stakeholders and require multidisciplinary perspective. It involves many spatial scales ranging from local to the global. So management therefore involves very many stakeholders. Right? As I mentioned the stakeholders earlier, require multidisciplinary perspective. Right? And it involves many spatial scales. It is ranging from local to the global. So not only local area, globally it is affecting. It is also involves many diverse goals, including desires to control the direction and pace of development, to optimize resources use, to minimize environmental degradation, and to avoid environmental disaster. So that is the final final products environment disaster. So management may be practiced by individuals and groups holding conflicting and even directly opposing views, as may be case when the environment managers employed by the large multinational corporation come into conflict with the environment managers representing the voluntary organizations. So that is the thing, is that the management are practice individual groups of holding conflict, directly opposing views, as may be the case when environment managers employed by the large multinational corporation come into conflict with the environment managers representing the voluntary organization. Therefore, you know the voluntary organizations, those who are environment lovers and school children. So sometimes this in this respect of development, the large companies are employing the managers for their side. It is a conflict is normally arising with the environment lovers, those who are the managers representing the volunteer organization. So it is a very important focus on decision making. In general, however, environment management is concerned with the understanding of the structure and functions of the earth system, as well as the ways which humans relate to the environment. So every environment management concern, every people must understand the structure of the function for each earth system, as well as the human related their environment activities. The environment management is therefore concerned with the description and monitoring of environmental changes, with predicting future changes, and with attempts to maximize human benefits and minimize environment degradation due to the human activities. So very important that environment management is concerned. It is very descriptive description, monitoring the environmental changes, with predict future changes, and with attempt to maximize the human benefit, right, minimizing the environmental degradation. So people are maybe have enjoying the resources of the environment in the maximum way, but it should be minimize the environmental degradation due to human activities. Yet, characteristically, environment management is about decision making, and it is especially concerned with the process of decision making in relation to the use of natural resources, the pollution of habitat, and the modification of the ecosystems. So those are the things: resource pollution of habitat and the modification of habitat. So if it is a pollution is take place, then what we sometimes it may be modified the ecosystem. So fundamentally, then environment management is a, as you know, by the day life as engineers, fundamentally then environment management is a political activity because those decisions about resources, pollution, and ecosystems are never neutral or other objective. On the contrary, they are value laden and they reflect the exercise power of particular groups over others. Moreover, in general, it is native to conceive of environment management as being about simply the management of the environment in the sense of human manipulating and controlling the components and process of the earth systems. So I think you understand that. So environment management is the importance. I will describe that. Of course, human do exert such influences on the earth system, but it is falsely of think that human manage, for instance, population of humpback whales. Instead, it is more accurate to suggest that human may be able to make some progress toward the managing human impacts on humpback whales. Right? So ultimately, then environment management is more concerned with the management of human activities and their impact than with the minimum management of the natural environment per se. So is our duty, our activities has to be controlled and do wisely to manage the environment without any damage. So further influence in the course of development, nevertheless, some types of activities are common to environment managers. Some type of activities are common to environment managers. Environment managers attempt to deliberately to steer the process of development in order to take advantage of opportunities. They attempt to ensure the critical environment limits are not exceeded. They work to reduce and mitigate environmental issues, and they are concerned with increasing the adaptability and resilience and human societies in the face of environment change, variability, unpredictability, and hazard. So, to, from the point of view, environment management may be defined as the system that anticipates and avoids or solve environmental resources conservation issues. So therefore, the environmental management is always a systematic process anticipating and avoid and solve the environmental and resources conservation issues. From another point of view, environment management may be defined as a process concerned with human environmental interaction which seeks to identify. That is the most important. It is the process of concerned human environment interaction which is seek to identify. Then what are the environmental desirable outcomes? What are the physical, economical, social and cultural and political and technological constraints to achieving these outcomes? What are the most feasible options for achieving those outcomes? What are the environment desirable outcomes? What are the physical, economic, social, cultural, political and technological constraints to achieving those outcomes? What are the most feasible options to achieving those outcomes? We also now we are going to discuss about management features of the environment. So even the construction site or even the manufacturing site, so we have the responsibility to management of the environment. Therefore, the following things has to be discussed. The concept of environment management act as a tool to improve the environmental performance. Therefore, it is our responsibility of the industry as a construction agency or as a company of doing some production. So concept of environment management as a tool to improve the environmental performance. So we have to always do our works according to environmental friendly manner. Therefore, environmental performance is the most important. It works toward the waste minimization. So one objective is to minimize the waste. Then systematic approach to for overseeing the environmental affairs of the organization. So within the organization also there is a environmental affairs or systematic approach to maintain the environment. So when you when you are doing the construction of road or reservoir or something like that, when you are producing some item or productive marketable item, so it is the systematic approach you have to maintain within your organization or within the environment affairs. Address concern related to the environment through the evaluation of the related practice. So always you have to environment practices has to be evaluated throughout. So and we have to address the concern related to the environment through the evaluation of the related practice. Encourage employees to undergo training to achieve the desired objectives. So the company has some environment protection policy. So we have to encourage all our employees to undergo the training to achieve this service, because without training we can't maintain the environmental management. Then helps determine the impact and objective of the product or service. So help to determine. So everybody has to impact of objective, a product or service. So product means if you are producing something, it is a product, and if you are providing service like road construction, reservoir, so then impact, it is very important to find, help to determine what is the impact of your service or product to the environment. Assign responsibilities and accountability in a firm. So we have to fix the responsibility and accountability in a firm for the various employees. So advantage. So we will discuss about the advantage of environment management. What is that our advantage of making the environment management? One thing is effective use of resources. So with the environmental management, we have to effectively use the resources. So understand. So with the management, we are as a concept of sustainable development, minimum amount of material we are using, effective use of resources. Then the improve the sustainability, right? You understand. Help in staying out of troubles. So when you are doing the effective use of resources as they improve the sustainability, it is always help to staying out of trouble. Without trouble, you can smoothly move your production or works or industry, something like that. Then it is mainly control the pollution control also. So then not the wastewater contaminating the natural groundwater and without purification. So always so you have to control the pollution. So if you are taking the necessary precautions within your industry or company or work site, then pollution can be controlled. Then what is the other thing? Improve the public image. So publics are very vigilant. Actually, any product or any development is affecting the public, no? So public is always thinking what you are doing as a company or road development project or reservoir development project or industry. So public is very vigilant about the work, how you are going to act. Therefore, when you are doing the systematic environment management, public may improve the public image. So then you are getting a minimum disturbance from the public. Then the economic progress. So it is you are progressing without manage waste and everything, with a waste of resources as well as unwanted problems. Your economic will be progress. Then finance. So improved management efficiency. So, so management efficiency will be improved when you are doing the better job and with the environment friendly and better compliance. So that is a more we are compliance in the better management, the marketing, then sales opportunities, em empowered employee. So you have to give the more powers to the employees. Then they will be dedicatedly work for you and certificate of recognized standards. So those are the things. Then that is the advantages. Then what is the disadvantage of environment management? So what is disadvantage? So first instance, it is the cost involved. The cost of developing, monitoring and implementing the effective environment management policies is high. It becomes difficult for every business entity to implement such program in its business plan because of the high cost. So it is understand. So when you are doing environmental management in proper manner, right, it will involve some cost. So always you have to your company or construction company industry. So you have to because with the high cost you have to do the environment management. That's what I put it that the cost of developing, monitoring, implementing effective environment management policies is high. It becomes difficult for every business entity to implement such program in its business plan because of the high cost. So it is a separate cost when you do the construction site. So you have to employ the employment what you call it, environment managers, right? So then given the awareness and necessary support and everything, it is high cost. Then too much of trouble. So the environment management system can prove too much of a trouble. If you are a startup or small business entity who may limited resources and its disposal, therefore it is a too much of trouble. So time and resources. The objective of implementing the environment management policies is to minimize energy and unnecessary resources consumption and reduce waste. It is a bitter fact that every such scheme requires additional use of time and resources that can prove expensive in terms of time, effort and resources to an organization. So it is actually one way it is a burden to the company, but you have a moral responsibility to undertake that. Otherwise, it is a sustainable development. This will be effective. Therefore, you have to, even though you have to spend the time and resources, you have to undertake such things. Then training costs. So when you are doing environment management, you will be not able to achieve that without providing training for the whole the people, your employees and managers and high grade people as well as to the general public. So everybody in this process that will need recruiting human resources for all these stages. So we have to recruit this human resources for all these stages. An organization has to offer training. You have to recruit the people for the management, and as well as you have to train the people. So recruit, recruits have to be trained. And if it want to implement an effective system, and this can be proved expensive and troublesome to management. Therefore, this is actually clearly for the company, this environment management system has to be maintained with all the troubles. So now we will learn about the environment management system. The environment management system is a set of process and practices that enable an organization to reduce the environment impact and increase the operating efficiency. The site provides information and resources related to an EMS for small business and private industry, as well as local, state or provincial agencies. Actually, we have to consider about what is an EMS, cost and benefit of EMS, and the International Organization for Standardization of the Standardization 14001. So, EMS is an environment management system is a framework that helps an organization to achieve its environmental goals through the consistent review, evaluation, and improvement of its environmental performance. So you know this in Sri Lanka that there are a lot of number of acts, environment acts, and the various acts are there in force. So according to that, you have to do the environment management. Therefore, it is a framework that is to achieve the goals according to the existing legal acts and regulations. The assumption is that this consistent review and evaluation will identify opportunities for improving and implementing the environmental performance of the organization. So therefore, the environmental EMS is now it consisted always review and evaluation, continuous review and evaluation, because first instance you will be earmark or fix the certain steps, and then during the implementation you will find out mistakes. So it is a continuously you have to evaluate, review your program and evaluate. So how you going to achieve the best environment practices for your industry, for your construction site, for your other things. So therefore, that when you are doing some construction or doing the production, your company or industry, then government valid all the act and ordinance are monitoring your outcomes. Yeah, environmentally, what are the effluent level and everything. If you are issuing releasing the wastewater, what is the requirement for the water level quality, all those things. The EMS itself does not dictate the level of environmental performance that must be achieved. So environment management system does not dictate the level of environment performance, what is the requirement, but must be achieved. Each organization EMS is tailored with its own individual objective and targets. So it is coming behind individual objective target. Therefore, continuous evaluation and monitoring will help to improve your EMS. That is the main requirement. Then basis of the EMS is and EMS help an organization address its regulatory requirement in a systematic and cost-effective manner. This proactive approach can help reduce the risk of non-compliance and improve health and safety practices for employees and the public. So most very important that safety practice, so health and safety practice for the employees and public. And EMS can also help address non-regulated issues such as energy conservation and can promote stronger operational control and employees stewardship. Basic elements of an EMS include the following. What are that? Reviewing the organization environment goals, then analyzing its environmental impact and compliance obligations for legal and other requirements, then setting environment objectives and targets to reduce environmental impact and conform with compliance obligations. Establishing programs to meet the objectives and targets. So, monitoring and measuring progress in achieving the objectives. Ensuring employees' environmental awareness and the competence. Reviewing the progress of the EMS and achieving the improvement. Therefore, it is a continuous, as I mentioned, continuous process, reviewing and monitoring. So not only your process, but it is ensure the employees' environment awareness. All the employees must be has a responsibility. We have to educate them. We have to give the awareness, and they should be competent enough to achieve their targets. So those very responsible manner we have to make in environment management system. So it is basically environmental management system is include analyzing its environmental impact and compliance obligation, legal or other requirement. The legals are already defined in our Environmental Act and other relevant acts I mentioned earlier, and setting environment objectives and targets to reduce the environmental impact and conform with the compliance obligation. So various levels you have for your obligation. Establishing programs to meet these objectives and targets. Monitoring and measuring progress in achieving the objectives. Ensuring employees, as I mentioned, awareness and competence. Reviewing progress of EMS and achieving that. So the cost and benefit of the EMS. Internal cost. Staff, manage time, represent the bulk of EMS resources expended by most organizations at the employees' time. So time is internal staff management, staff and manage time represent the bulk of EMS resources expended by most organizations and other employees' time. Then external potential consulting assistant. So outside training of personnel. So then even externally these things so sometimes you may be not able to solve your problems in your company with the when you are identified during the EMS environmental system, then you will have to get the external consultant to potential consulting assistant from the external. So because the experts are there, you have to hire the experts to regulate or rectify your problems within the institution. And outside training of person. So your employees and managers and others has to be trained in outside also, because the inside awareness is not sufficient. So you have to give the outside training also. Then potential benefits are improve the environment performance. So once you have well set for the environment management system, it is improve the environment performance. So you will not get into trouble. Otherwise, the monitoring agencies, maybe Labour Ministry, maybe Environment Authority, maybe monitor your performance and you will be in trouble. Therefore, improve the environment performance. Then enhance compliance and pollution prevention. So you have to enhance compliance. So you will be achieve the what are the provisions in the various acts in the mean of pollution prevention. Pollution is preventing. So your wastewater will be purified to acceptable level, and like that groundwater pollution is has to be prevented. So that's the way in the industry. In the even construction industry also, construction sites also, same thing has to be followed. Then resource conservation. So your resources will be conserved when you are doing the good environment management system. New customers and market. So your product, when you are doing the very good environment management system, you will get the more what you call new customers and markets. Increase the efficiency, reduce the cost. So when you do the environment management system efficiently, you are continuously reviewing and monitoring, and then you are arresting your shortfall, then increase the efficiency and reduce your product and cost for the industry. Enhance employee morale. So then the employees also very enthusiastic about your performance, and then it has enhanced the employees' morale also. Enhance image with public, regulators, lenders, and investors. Then what will be that all the public, they are also vigilant what you are doing in your industry and how you pollute the what you call damaging the environment. Therefore, when you are doing the very concrete proposals for environmental management system, the public will be happy. And regulators like Environment Authority and like that, various regulating authorities are there. So lenders, those who are giving the money for your industry, and investors, see, everybody will be happy because of your good performance. So employees awareness. So actually, this line, your employees has give the good awareness then about your environment issues. So then it will be very helpful your company, your industry. So regarding this, the EMS, Environment Management System, under ISO 14001, the most commonly used framework for EMS is the one developed by International Organization for Standardization, ISO 14001. Standard exists. Established in 1996, the framework is official international standard for an EMS, which is based on the plan, do, check, act methodology. So that is what we have: continuous evaluation, monitoring, evaluation, and arresting. So plan, do, check, and act methodology. The 5 main stages of the EMS as defined in the ISO 14000 standard are described below. Just to your knowledge: commitment and policy, top management, commit to environmental improvements, and establish the organization environmental policy. The policy is the foundation for the EMS. So actually for everything, the higher management have the responsibility, and they have, so they have to improve the organization environment policy. Based on the policy, we have to prepare the foundation. It is the foundation for the EMS. Then it will be successful. Then planning. An organization first identify the environmental aspects of its operations. And environmental aspects are those items such as air pollutant, hazardous waste that can have negative impact on people and of the environment. An organization then determine which aspects are significantly by choosing criteria considered most important by the object. For example, an organization may choose worker health and safety, environmental compliance, and cost as its criteria. Once the significant improvement aspects are determined, an organization set objectives and targets. An objective is on overall environmental goals. That means minimize the use of chemical X. Target is detailed. Quantities, quantified requirement that arise from the objective. That means they reduce the use of chemical X by 25% by September 2016. For example, the final part of the planning stage is devising an action plan for meeting the target. This includes the designing responsibilities, establishing schedule, and outline the clearly defined steps to meet implementation. An organization follow through with the action plan using the necessary resources, human, financial, etc. An important component is employees training and awareness for the all employees, including the interns, contractors, etc. Even contractors also has to give the training. Other steps in the implementation stages include documentation, following operating procedure, and setting up internal and external communication lines. So those are the implementation, including evaluation. Company monitor its operations to evaluate whether objectives and targets are being met. If not, the company takes corrective action. So evaluation, once you evaluation, you have to say after evaluation, your company must monitor its operation and evaluate whether objectives are targets are being met. Otherwise, you have to rectify that. Taking corrective action. Then finally, review. Top management review the results of the evaluation of see if the EMS is working. So, another management system is working. The top management has to be evaluate whether it is working. Management determine whether the original environment policy is consistent with the original organization values. The plan is then revised to optimize the effectiveness of the EMS. The review stage is create a loop continuous improvement for the company. So therefore, those things has to be, this is the briefly 14,001 contain. So that's not only
we already discussed about the EMS. So therefore now we are going to discuss about the application of the EMS for the various institutions. The environmental management system is a primary responsibility of the government institution, private institutions like bank and corporations and public companies as well as private companies. Therefore, it is very important for engineers to have the idea about the EMS in your institution. It is mainly the proper on training establishing EMS should be given to all relevant employees of the government sector institutions, and full knowledge about ISO 14001, including how to set up an environmental policy and its achievement under ISO 14001 model. Actually, it is a integrated approach in your institutions or corporation or company, how you are going to contribute to protect the environment of the country as a whole world, that under EMS system. So prime objective is that get the benefit to the next generation. Therefore, all the employees of the institution should be aware about what is you are going to do under 14001 under EMS. When planning environment policy, necessary components should be included, such as prevention of various types of pollution, compliance with relevant laws and regulations, continual improvements, etc., and it should be published to relevant all internal and outside people. So I think quite understand that we are going to prevent the various type of pollutions and compliance with the relevant laws. Environment laws, their local authority government, local authority government bylaws are there. So and regulations there. So all those things has to be improved continuously, and it should be published to relevant all internal and outside people. These things should be given to the awareness to the internal employees as well as the outside people. Otherwise, that may be not successful the your effort to establish the environment management system. Proper environmental task group should be should be created to include the various positions of the organization structure of institution. So therefore, now various people in your institution should be entrusted with the proper responsibility in the various level and various positions in your organization to attend this EMS program. Continuous audit and review on implementation of its EMS should be done periodically at the proper time. So, as other things also, continuous audit, it's checking and balances and review the implementation of the EMS. The, how your program is work should be periodically monitored and audited and review. So if there is any lapses, that should be rectified. Establishing a post environmental officer for each institution should be done to coordinate all the environmental programs. So therefore, it is essential this this responsibility entrusted with the responsible officer. Therefore, it is normally required to establish a post, maybe the EMS manager or something like that, environment officer for each institution to look into these matters. The attitude of the employees be improved to protect and conserve the environment of the while considering it a part of its duty of the bearing post. So therefore, the attitudes of the employees should be improved. So they should be give the awareness as well as knowledge and difficulties and how it affects the future generation. If you are polluting the environment and not practicing the regulations and rules and regulations of the government, so therefore it is better to give the all the people awareness in addition to their post. So even in your family also, now you have to give the awareness to your wife as well as the family members, your son, daughters, and children, how you should protect the environment. That means for the regarding the waste material, how you are identify the waste material and put it separately in the bins, and like all those degradable items like organic matters and plastics and other things, papers like that separately. So normally then now the local government are collecting the all the things separately, no, so plastic separately once or two times per month, and then the paper wastages once a month, and uh, this organic material regarding the organic material once in 2 days like that. So therefore it is the most important attitude of the members of the institution, corporation, family should be improved. Special attention to be paid for integrated water management, solid waste management. Actually, water is the main polluter. It is very badly affecting by the solid waste. Therefore, special attention to paid the integrated water management and solid waste management. So this is the very important for the institution. Even the integrated water management is include the household, reduce your water usage in your house, and then in the wastewater, it should try to prevent the what to call this, the use water when you enter the when it enters your main drain without the solid waste as well as the uh, without chemicals like that. So you have to uh, as far as possible you must give the your attention to uh, release the your wastewater to the main drain without any hazard material. So then environment strategies that can be adopted by the local bank also. This is applicable to government institutions also. Energy saving through the exploring energy efficient lighting solutions and alternative energy sources. So now this energy in part and parcel of the environmental. So then you are using more energy. That means wasting more fuel and using more water for the hydropower like that. Therefore, energy saving through the exploring energy. So in your institution, you must what to call this? You must implement the energy saving process. So steps should be taken. Even house also that unwanted light should be switch off and all those things. Not necessary to explain. Reducing the paper waste through proper consumption and promoting recycling when possible and practical. Actually, this paper wasting is waste is the most important because paper wasting means that you are cutting the more trees. Therefore, that now most of the institution they actually reduce the paper using for the various things. Even the telecom now they are trying to send all the bills to the email. Then the papers could be cut down. That even banks also they are normally using the SMS to inform the your information and various applications are there. So therefore, like that they are producing. So any institution it should be done. Then the carbon footprint, the amount of carbon dioxide released into the atmosphere as a result of the activities of the particular individual, organization and community. So this is, it is to understand the amount of carbon dioxide released to the atmosphere as a result of the activities of the particular individual, organization, community. So these things, this calculation process to track our performance and benchmark of our progress against our peers in the industry. Therefore, should your all the employees should be what to call this, aware about the carbon footprint also. Sustainable lending of green loans such as lending non-conventional renewable energy sector and green energy loan schemes for the individuals. So therefore, normally this rooftop solar power uh, system is one of the best thing to control the energy and in the it is environment friendly. Therefore, I think as a bank they can promote in their business they can give them more support to the solar energy panels and other system to install in the rooftop. So I think nowadays we are very badly affected by the power cut. So therefore, it is all the people are agitating to institute the solar power. So therefore, this bank can do that for the what to call this, encouraging the general public with the concession rate interest, so they can give the loan to encourage the people. Engaging customers through enabling them to mitigate towards more eco-friendly business practices. So the customers of the bank can be encouraged to mitigate towards the eco-friendly, environment friendly, economical friendly business practices. Environment of CSR. What is the CSR? CSR is a corporate so, corporate environmental CSR project to identify the address official ecology challenges that are likely to cause the destruction for the natural composition of air, water on the earth. So normally this CSR is the policies, uh, policies and practices undertaken by the corporate intended to a positive influence of the world. So most of the companies are doing the corporate social responsibility in the practice of the practices, and their policies are framing undertaken by the corporate social responsibility to have the intended to have a positive influence on the world. Then social strategy adopted the bank further discussing adopting the 360-degree sustainability matrix that begins with the stakeholders engagement mechanism where key sustainable trends and identified while opportunities and threats arising therefore are determined. In the meantime, using the social responsibility, society responsive CSR, cooperative social responsibility model that address the broader systematic issues and socio-economic challenges that affect communities. The bank is guided by the Millennium Development Goals and 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, both parts of the UNDP Development Roadmap of Sri Lanka. So actually, United Nations Development Program is always insisting to implement those things, corporate social responsibility and other things. So Millennium Development Goals, it is equal this CSR, corporate social responsibility programs. The bank aims to bring about positive changes across the broader community demographics through the social responsive CSR model. So therefore, actually, from all these things, banks can encourage the people to through their CSR, community social, corporate social responsibility. They can improve the attitudes of people to protect the environment. Transparency and good governance, community engagement, and employees volunteerism. So these all the programs should have the transparency, good governance, Yahapalani and Vinidabhavi, engagement and employees the volunteerism. This volunteerism means that means everybody is by not by payment but voluntarily. They are responsible to contribute the social development.
So now in this aspect, the environment protection, sustainable development, integrated water resource management, W principle is a worldwide accepted principle. So those are four things are there. Fresh water is finite and vulnerable resource. Essential to sustain life, development and the environment. Water development and management should be based on participatory approach. That is the more important factor. Involving users, planners and policymakers at all levels. Then women play a central part in the provisions, management and safeguarding the water. So actually in the worldwide, the woman has stressed the responsibility of to manage the water. Water has an economic value and should be recognized as an economic good. So that is the most debatable, like Sri Lanka. So our water is for the food sustainability. So these things are actually, we have to, not for the commercial purposes. Other developed countries, they are using the water for the commercial purposes, export from the crops and these things. So then it is quite different. But in Sri Lanka, our water is mostly we are using for drinking, bathing and other activities, as well as agriculture development for sustainability of food. Then integrated water resource management, the most important. The integrated water resource management is a process which promotes the coordinated development and management of water
land and related resources in order to maximize the resultant economics and social welfare in an equitable manner without compromising the sustainability of the vital ecosystem. Then integrated water resource management concept, which also is based similar to sustainable development on the three pillars such as society, economics and environment. Therefore, there is hardly any difference between the concept of sustainable development and integrated water management, except perhaps the latter especially refers to water, land and related resources. So, integrated water resource development always resource management always refers to water, then the land and related resources. So this is most important as an engineers to make the planning. The basic attribute understanding three pillars of both sustainable development and integrated water management are very similar. For example, equity, gender, inclusive development and the participatory approach in decision making is identified as key areas under society, while principles of the cost recovery, polluters pay and financial sustainability are considered prime under economics. The environmental economics include environmental protection, including action to reduce the generation of waste. So that is the most important. So generation of waste. So human beings are always generating waste. What is cost cutting issue in all goals, while some of the targets identified in each goal are directly related to water resources, development and management. So for any environmental protection, this is the main factor. The green economy and sustainable development goals are, we must understand, renewable energy, solar, wind, geothermal, marine, including wave, biogas and fuel cells. Then the green building, green retrofits for energy and water efficiency, residential and commercial assessment, green product and materials and deep construction, cleaning transportation, alternative fuels, public transit, hybrid and electrical vehicles, car sharing and car pooling programs, water management, water reclamation, grey water and rainwater systems, low water landscaping, water purification, storm water management, etc. The waste management, recycling, municipal solid waste strategies, salvage, brownfield and land remediation and superpound cleanup, sustainable parking, land management, organic agriculture, habit conservation and restoration, and urban forestry and parks restoration and forestation and solid establish. Those are actually for your. So, in this case, it is important to review the present status of the water resources along with the institutional structure in Sri Lanka before suggesting the strategies to be followed in view of the sustainable of resources. This slide very briefly gives the water availability of Sri Lanka. As you know, the Sri Lanka is prosperous in water resources with 103 river basins, more than 20 major wetlands, exceptional design, minor and major irrigation systems, and significant groundwater resources. Rainfall as the main form of precipitation bring an average rainfall of 1,450 millimeters and 2,400 millimeters. To dry 80% of land area and wet zones 20% of land area. For Sri Lanka respectively, the annual total volume of surface and groundwater availability has been assessed at 44,000 mcm and 7,800 mcm respectively. The per capita water availability would be about 2,500 cubic meters, with the population to peak about 21 million by 2025 next year. Therefore, Sri Lanka can be considered as a country with sufficient amount of available water. However, there will be a spatial and temporal variability, and strategies for water resources management should therefore be focused on reducing the variability.
Then the solid waste management also, now all the government institutions, town councils, in the Pradeshi Sabha, all those things are now actually paid more attention for the solid waste management, or it is also integrated, because it is the the responsibility of the one or single person. Is the whole community is responsible for solid waste management. Actually, entering the solid waste to the water bodies is making the badly the what to call this source environment pollution. So urbanization and rapid population growth have increased the quantity and complexity of the waste generated. So quite understand that mainly because of the urbanization and population growth, that quantity of the waste generated by solid waste is increased. Therefore, now we have to give integrate manage it. 3D this those things are very important, and people have to participate to curtail the or minimize the solid waste. Inefficient management or improper disposal of solid waste has created negative impacts of sustainability of the environment. Therefore, inefficient management. So actually, human made these problems. Therefore, insufficient management improvement actually will badly affect the sustainable environment. I think day-to-day papers you can read how people are wasting the material and how they are polluting the water. Therefore, the integrated with the participation of all the communities as well as the people and families is the most important for sustainable management of solid waste. Therefore, finding an integrated and holistic approach to managing solid waste in an environmentally, socially, financially, and economically feasible manner is essential. So, quite understand it is the responsibility of the people. The EMS should take these important aspects positively. So, when you implement the environment management system in your office, these things also should be considered.
And water and sustainable development. Water is at the core of sustainable development and is critical for socio-economic development, healthy ecosystem, and human services itself. It is vital for reducing the global burden of disease and improving the health, welfare, and productivity of populations. It is central to the production and preservation of the cost, benefits, and services for people. Water is also at the heart of adaptation to climate change, serving as crucial link between the climate system, human society, and the environment. Water is the finite and irrespectable, irreplaceable resources that is fundamental to human well-being. It is only renewable if well managed. So most important is that the renewable if well managed. Today, more than 1.5 billion people live in river basins where depletion to the use of exceed natural recharge. A trend that will save 2/3 of the world population living in water-stressed countries by 2025 next year. Water can pose serious challenges to sustainable development, but managed efficiently and equitably, water can play a key enabling role in strengthening the resilience of social, economic, and environment system in the light of rapid and unpredictable changes. So now these days I think as a Sri Lankan we also feeling that according to the dry weather prevailing in the all over the country. So we have to think about how to manage the water for the irrigation, hydropower, irrigation and drinking and everything. So therefore very carefully these things are very applicable to our country.
Then the other thing is it is connected with the managing water environment. It is the confirm a vision of water management and the value of water. So water management is there, right? And value of the water. Understand the changing water availability and demand over time. So always stakeholders must understand in the available water in the upstream. So determine the allocation of water between users. So it should be transparent manner. We have to distribute the water for stakeholders like water supply and drainage board, irrigation department, Mahali authority, and the other industries. So now actually prosperity is a worldwide UNDP and UNESCO. It is a prosperity for drinking. So in the drought situation, actually we have to allocate the water for the drinking and then for the other food production and other things. Ensure effective water policies and institutions. So all the water sector institutions like water supply and drainage board, irrigation department, Mahali authority, and regional level those department. So everybody has the effective water policies and institutions. How you are going to be the use the water. Plan, monitor, and deliver water for the environment. Ensure effective water pollution institute. In the meantime, plan, monitor, and deliver water for the environment. So all the water cannot be stopped and diverted to agriculture, but we have to reach a certain required amount for the maintain the environment. Access and improve system effectiveness and efficiency. So then the globally provisions and management of water for the environment needs to be urgently improved. The facts provide examples that demonstrate how practical action recognizing the water dependent values, better managing infrastructure, and reforming allocative and other management systems, for example, can deliver progress in both the near and long term. So that's the way. So now regarding the further importantly, this guide demonstrates that managing water for the environment can deliver not only environmental benefit but economic, social and cultural ones too. So now, for example, in the irrigation systems, now even the closed season, that means no water used for water is not using for the cultivation. At that time also, we are supposed to give the water in the main canals and distributed canals fairly amount once a week. For what? So that is protection the environment. So otherwise, all these trees and everything will be died. In the meantime, economically, so people are using for the water for various sources. Your social and cultural, people are taking their what to call it. When the water is flowing in the mainstream canals and distributed canals, their wells will be what to call it, will be full again get filled. That is the we are actually supporting when the water is flowing in the main canal is all the what to call it, charging the wells. So in the meantime, this all the coconut trees and other homestead trees and other things will be not damaged. So now when the main canals are lining, concrete lining, then the repercussions are quite different. So you can, as a engineers, you may understand when you go to the downstream of the Randinigala, up to the Dhruva, there is a line canals. In that area, that environment is quite different from the environment of the other areas like Polonnaruwa, Anuradhapura, Padaviya and Ramasena, something like that. So then actually it is the managing water for the environment is the real requirement. So importance of water for the environment. So we have to, as engineers as well as the social workers, we have to keep in our mind what is water for the environment. Then why is water for the environment important? How does managing water for the environment deliver benefits? What needs to be considered when managing water for the environment? A framework for effective management of water for the environment. Management of water for the environmental must occur within the water resource planning framework that accounts for all water use in the given basin and catchment. So the water management, what to call it, management of water for the environment, it is the part of the water resource planning also now. So even the earlier also same, but now really now emphasized after this present situation, it is a mandate requirement to water resources planning that allocation for the environment protection. The best approach to managing the water for the environment will vary based upon the uh, set of fundamentals of effective management of water for environment is way that allows the difference, providing the guidance that is applicable to multiply scales and recognize the financial, political and human resources constraint within which all decision making makers must operate. So now, not like early days, so for this environment management, various parties like politicians, administrators, stakeholders, farmers, even industrials, they all are thinking their rights to get their water for their development as well as business activities. Therefore, this best approach is actually then what is the meaning? We are collectively uh, manage the water by planning, ensuring the right of all the stakeholders. The body of this guide set out the element of effective management of water for the environment. So then, in that planning, water must be released to the environment also for their protection. Then element show that any approach for managing the water for environment is required. While every context is different, the elements show that the approach to the managing water for the environment requires a vision of the water management informed by an understanding system, health need and associated water dependent value in the local context. An accurate understanding of current water availability and demand and realistic establishment of future availability and demand under multiple scenarios is second one element. An agreed approach for allocating water for the environmental determined through an assessment of an trade-off involved in relation to all water dependent values. While in recognizing the long-term system health is fundamental to the maintenance of the all the other values. The development of effective policies and institutions for implementing the allocation decisions and establishing and protecting the rights of the environment. So, a plan for achieving agreed system health outcomes and managing and operating the associated works and measure the accordance with the plan followed by monitoring of the outputs and outcomes and ongoing evaluation of the outcomes, which should be communicated to stakeholders as the basis of the ongoing adaptive management. While the elements are numbered, it is important to consider them both collective and directive, uh, discretely. So you can understand now, not like early days. Now, each and every organization cannot use the water as they want, but it's a collective management process. So, therefore, that for a best example is the Mahavali. This example is the Mahavali Water Management Secretariat, which is always controlling and water allocation for the various institutions. For the irrigation department, it is the board. So such institutions are more important to coordinate, manner, distribute water equitably. So fundamental objective management of water for the environment for knowledge improvement, conform a vision for water management and values of water maintaining system. Health is a sustained effort that demands is similarly long-term vision for outcomes from the water management. Identify the stakeholder groups and understand their values. Stakeholders are individuals, group or organizations that have an intent in or are affected by the particular issues. Freeman 1984. Then he is the draft those things and facilitate agreement on the need for the and benefit of change members of the public are often unaware that they live in a modified natural world. Understand the changing water availability and demand. Determine the allocation of water between the users. So that is the final one is the most important. Determine the allocation of water between the users. So nobody cannot enjoy their much more than what they need. So then this water management having the major role to play in the meantime managing the our environment also. Then this every year that we are celebrating March 22nd, the World Water Day. So you can read in the internet and everything. World Water Day, what is this year? What is the main theme? Accelerating the change, own action plan. So now everybody is thinking that how to manage it. Now it is trying to develop bottom-top approach for the water management and environmental protection. So they protect the water. So then, what is the bottom-top approach? Means that fundamentally this small water user has the contribution duty to protect the water. So in the meantime, now what is the mean? The save water and save the water in this respect to the water supply. So when you at the house, you must contribute for the water management. So you must save the water. How you are saved? Take the shorter showers. Don't let the tap run when brushing your teeth, doing the dishes, and preparing the foods. So these things are normal things. Actually, we are not practicing, but we have to practice because now the water bill is also very high, So naturally, think into how to control. Check water wastage inside the compound. Always use plumber for repairs. So there is a you must be vigilant. So because you are getting good very large amount of bill and use mainly because of the water leakage inside. So therefore you have to arrest it. So take the don't do try to do it by self if possible, no harm, but find out with a good plumber. With that you can do it correctly. Flush safe, fix leaking water and waste pipes, empty fully septic tank and report dumping of sludge. So then sometimes the septic tank is full and it is spilling. So then spreading the smell as well as damaging the environment. Therefore, you have to be vigilant for those things. Not only for you but neighbors and as a society. Stop polluting. Don't put food waste, oils and chemicals to your drains. So it will finally connect to the main streams. So protect nature, plant tree or create rain garden. Use natural solutions to reduce the risk of flooding and store water. So now most of our house compounds are concrete paved. Therefore, once the water comes, it is coming to the quickly coming to the what to call this runoff. So those things have to be so protect the when you have the grass and other things, and then it will can be controlled. Then clean up your surroundings, your drainage, wetlands, local rivers, lakes, and beaches. So now actually, as a citizen, you have to clean your drainage canals and surrounding, so water collecting areas. So then naturally you will get the food environment. So everybody has the duty to do that. In the one example plants for farmers, timely cultivation, early mass season, and use rain for land purification. Save the water for the river. And wet and dry water management during the yellow cultivation by which maximize the yield. So now must not waste more water. So wet and dry, what you must use the water for the paddy when it is required, not to like all days to destroy the weeds and other things to take the more water. So we have to correctly now this most of the schemes are now practicing the wet and dry cultivation. With that, water can be managed, as well as the plants are growing very high level, as well as the production is very high. This it is the psychology of the plants. Then it will not get in the enough water always, then they will thinking that we are going to die. Therefore they are producing the more uh, paddy. Always keep you paddy fields, earth bunds and strength avoid the water seepages. Keep your canal clean for easy passage of water. Be equitable water distribution among farmers. Always coordinate with the stakeholders. Obey the farm organization decisions. Pollution-free water lands. Avoid water stagnation. So those things are actually, as a cultivating people, we have to think about that. So these are the things what I want to again.
Then, as a summary, I can say that water engineering has a long history of the serving human needs and is essential for civilized life. Although only the minority of mankind enjoys the full benefit of the pipe water in township and urbanization, then decent sanitation, it is most essential, and irrigated agriculture support food security and flood protection. Decent sanitation minimize the pollution, in the meantime cost for the water purification. Ultimately, one would hope that access to these services will be the norm for growing number of people. While ecosystem services might play a role in competing the engineering infrastructures, the dominant means to provide a comfortable living environment for the humans. So this is the most important factor, especially in the ever-growing urban settlements with test on the continued use of engineering. So when the urbanization is very fastly going, so therefore engineers have to find the solution. Then heavy reliance on ecosystem services really not an option, as the history of engineering shows, since the need of engineering demonstrably rose in to bypass ecosystem services that could not keep up with the needs of the financing living. So perhaps it is time for fresh look before further promoting ecosystem solution in the name of sustainable development. For the sake of social sustainability, one should not limit the majority of the humanity from the development they desire, while ecosystem undeniably can complement engineering works. The heavy load will remain on deploying and maintaining engineering solutions all over the world. Finally, there is no need to let developing countries to go through the same pitfalls developed countries went through. Lessons learned should be shared. So actually, as a developing countries, we must find out the solutions most appropriate economy. Rapid urbanization, in particular in the developing world, need careful projections for long-term planning. The anticipated doubling of the urban populations by 2050 means that urban infrastructures will need massive extension, replacement and undersign in the next 30-40 years. How urban agglomeration and their water infrastructure would be built in the same ad hoc manner as they evolved in the developed world in the 19th and 20th century, resulting in legacy elements that have long-lasting effect on urban planners and water engineers. Further, instead of best engineering practice of today, including the incorporation of green infrastructure, should be looked at, and future cities should be designed accordingly. So green city is actually one of the solution, and everybody has to establish the green cities. There are fortunately signs that the developing world is learning from the mistakes and developed nations made in the past. So there are fortunately signs that developing world, like our countries, learning from the mistakes developed nations made in the past. So we have to study that part also. China heavy investment in wastewater treatment after 30 years of rapid economic growth could serve as an example. That is the one of the China is a very fastly developed country, but after 30 years it is understand that because wastewater treatment will cost very high investment, therefore they are finding clean solutions. Emerging economics will inevitably need to deploy more engineering solutions. Therefore, providing assistance to deploy them before major environmental degradations occur would be far more beneficial even from an environmental protection point of view than advocating well-intended but capacity-wise limited alternative that will ultimately constrain the long-term development. So those are the points. Thank you very much. So this is the